Hey, this week we are finishing the first letter of Peter and beginning the second letter of Peter. If you're reading 1 Peter 3 today, you'll see some stuff in there that's a little difficult to read about the husbands and wives and whatnot. It's a little confusing. Check out the blog that Sean Blythe has put together. It should be up on the website by the time you see this video. Some really good insights there as well. But, a lot of really important questions are raised by that passage. But I want to draw your attention to something in 1 Peter that you will read tomorrow. It's in 1 Peter 4, verse 10. Look at what he says. He says, "Like good stewards of the manifold grace of God, serve one another with whatever gift each of you has received." The manifold grace of God, manifold means like many, like multiple, like God's grace works in all kinds of different ways. And when Peter talks about God's grace, he means the gifts that God has given us that are meant to be used to serve other people with. He says, serve one another with whatever gift each of you has received. This is extremely practical for the community of faith, for the church, to be able to work together, because some things that I'm good at and I've been gifted to do, you might not be. And some things that you're gifted at, you're good at, I definitely am not. We need one another to get through life, to follow Jesus together. And so, as you're reading this, I want you to spend a minute or two, or as many as you want, reflecting on what are the gifts that God has given you, and are you using them? Are you using them to serve God in some way? Are you using them to serve the church? Are you using them to serve in God's mission? And if you're not, well, why not? And maybe how can you start to use those gifts? Maybe you hear me talk like this and you think to yourself, well, I don't know at all what the gifts are that God has given me. It's a really important thing to start to find out. What are the gifts that God has given me? Because God has given, as Peter says, each of us has been given gifts to be able to serve him with. It's important that we know what they are. And so start talking about it with people who are close to you, who know you, who might have insight into who you are and what you're like. Ask them, what are the gifts that God has given me? Because I have a hard time seeing it. Sometimes we have a really hard time seeing our own gifts, but other people can see them so clearly in us. And so take time to ask, maybe at Bible study, maybe at a small group, or just if you're out with a friend or whatever you might be doing. Because we've each been given gifts to be able to serve God with, to be able to serve his church with. And so it would be awesome for all of us to discover them and be able to use those gifts more and more for the good of the entire church and for the church's mission. All right, you'll also start reading 2 Peter, which is a little bit different of a letter than 1 Peter. It's a little more difficult to understand, a little more extreme. As you read that this week, make sure to read through, like if you have notes or something like that, or like kind of an introduction, if you have a study Bible, read that. Or make sure to watch the Bible Project summary introduction video to 2 Peter. It's really helpful because it's not the easiest letter in the world to understand what's happening. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me, call me, talk after church on Sunday or whatever it might be. All right, I hope you have a great week of reading.